What is going on, everyone? It's your guy Cole Jackson back here on Road Graders, continuing our Jimmy's Seafood trip through the Baltimore Ravens draft class. Thank you to Jimmy's for sponsoring this video and their big event coming up, the famous Tailgate, the event you all know and love, featuring OAR. That's right, OAR comes back home. They've been the soundtrack for Jimmy's for the last 19 years, and you can get in on the Tailgate where they will be there on June 28th. Go over to Jimmy's, check it out. You guys know that event. It's the best in Baltimore, 4 game days, and now you can get in on it with OAR. We're going to be diving into LaJohntay Wester. If you guys are looking forward to this breakdown, if you're excited about the Wester pick, do me a favor, hit that like button, hit subscribe if you're new here, drop a comment down below, let me know what you guys think of Wester. Let's jump into some of the key pieces, taking a look at his relative athletic score. Like we always do, obviously he fares very well in terms of his 40 overall, coming up there in one of the top percentiles, but a very low RAS overall. Major impact from being very poor in terms of size. He came in at 5'9.5", 163 pounds. I did see it as pro day. He got that 163 up to 170. So it's good to see him adding some of that weight. What was shocking to me, absolutely shocking, was his agility score being as low as it was. Now, I will talk about this a little bit in his film breakdown, specifically looking at some of his routes. I did find his agility for being one of those smaller slot receivers not to be as good as I was expecting. A lot of that is technique related, but some of it could be athletic related too. And that relative athletic score really speaks to it. It really threw a lot of water on this pick for me. I think this is probably the pick that I see a lot of fans excited about, and I'm a little bit more down on. Until we get to the punt return. And I have a whole section later in the video looking at his punt return ability. And that's where I think the value is. That's where I see Wester fitting in this team, is really to come in and be a punt returner and then kind of that backup slot guy. And you saw that backup slot guy have some value this year in Buffalo, specifically in the playoffs. You know, we saw a heavy dose of Anthony Miller and God, I'm blanking on the guy's name that we had here. The other slot receiver that we had here that played a lot of those kind of jet sweep roles. That's something I think that Wester could get involved in the next couple of years, taking some of that off Zay Flowers, allowing Zay Flowers to not be a gadget guy. I think Wester could kind of be a punt return / gadget guy. I'm not sure how much of a slot receiver he could be overall in terms of like a starting caliber slot receiver. It's crazy too, because you look at the stats and, you know, you can see up there, I think he's top 20 in NCAA history in terms of total receptions in a career. You know, so you can see this year after he transferred to Colorado from Florida Atlantic, still had 74 catches on 92 targets, 931 yards, 10 touchdowns. So great production. He only had 3 drops on the year. Drops did plague him at FAU, so it was nice to see him get that under control. Crazy stat was 8 contested catches. And I mean, you can see the slot yards there. So of his 931, 821 came out of the slot, 175 off the screen. Not a lot of deep targets here. I think he only had 4 targets or 4 catches. Maybe it's 4 catches. Over 20 yards, and you can see that there in the deep catches that ranked tied for 294th in the NCAA. So really his usage at Colorado was really kind of that gadget slot guy, you know, a lot of slants, but I do have the plays in there where he was used differently on things like slot fades and that sort of thing. And that's the weird thing about him. I find he's a better field stretcher out of the slot than he is kind of the shifty slant guy. So I like him on the screen game and those type of gadget plays. Or I like him, running deep, and I think he can actually be solid downfield. So it'll be interesting to see how the Ravens use him when he does get into action, but I'm just not falling in love with another 6th-round receiver that ends up disappointing me. So anyway, I don't want to throw too much water on the pick. Let's jump into the only thing that matters, and that is the film. Let's pop it up. We'll get started with taking a look at what I think most of you will be the most interested in, and that's his route running skills. And I broke these down into zone and man reps just to help us get through them. Colorado used a lot of, zone schemes like this, especially schemed routes like this, specifically for guys like Wester, who are just playmakers they had that they wanted to get the ball to. So you're going to see right here them getting the ball out to Wester in space, He's going to get in there for what I believe is a touchdown. I'm not sure if he necessarily got across there, but this is just the type of gadget play that you can use him for. And I think it's really important given the role that he's expected to have on the Ravens, which will be probably a returner role where he gets a couple of, looks like this. But, against zone, he also made some pretty big contested catch plays. So he's going to be in the slot here at the bottom of your screen, number 1. I don't know what's going on here. There. So you see he's going to get up there against that zone coverage, and he's going to read zone right away. And so this is just simply cover 2. You got your 2 deep safeties back here. One's off screen. There's your 5 defenders across. So there's your hole right there, right? That's in between the 2 safeties over top of the second line linebackers. And Wester's going to get up for this ball. And this is the thing about this type of play, an in-breaking, seam against cover 2. You're going to take contact, and you can see those 2 deep safeties right there breaking on the ball. And, credit Wester for being an undersized guy, getting up there, making this catch. We'll see it here from the other angle. So this is just good recognition, good understanding between him and Sanders of where this ball is going to land. Sanders is going to see this immediately. He's going to have that bending in break. You got 2 shallow linebackers. You got the C right there. That's where you need to hit. Sanders is going to put that up. And then you're going to see Wester just get up for that. And, he is a chest catcher. I'll talk about this quite a bit. He's going to catch that ball with his chest, but, kudos to him for getting up and securing this against his chest. Probably the right play as he's about to take contact as an undersized guy, and comes down with the ball. So, ton of credit there. I threw this in just because this is at FAU. It's a completely different type of offense, but you're going to get Wester, I believe, down here. Is that him right? He just got loose so often when he was playing for FAU. That's really why the numbers are the way they are in terms of statistical production. Obviously, he didn't have that type of production at Colorado. Just a completely different style of offense, but also his usage just being a lot different in terms of less deep targets. I believe the stat on it is he only had 4 targets, 20 plus yards downfield. And at FAU, it was a completely different type of usage. He was kind of their go-to offensive playmaker. So here we're going to see against that zone coverage. Again, there's that cover 2 look. So he's going to run an out-breaking route here. And, pretty solid route. Bends a little deeper than you'd like to see. It's funny to watch, a guy who, the only reason I'm going to compare him to Zay, obviously being drafted in the 1st and the 6th round, there's going to be a difference, but the shifty mobility, and when he's making cuts outside, he just has a longer rounded cut here. But, really good catch, good hands catch there on the sideline, good focus catch, get those feet in. So that's good to see, and a good route here against that zone coverage. Uses Travis Hunter here, who's going to focus on that boundary defender, and he's just going to bend that route in behind him. So really solid route there from Wester. Here we're going to see this is what I'm expecting from him at the NFL level. The ability to work the middle of the field. So you're going to see him come in. He's going to have that zone as he's going to break in here across the face of the linebacker. He's got the other linebacker over here. And I'll go back and play it through. You're going to see him slow up his steps as he works into the open space. And, this is something that every receiver should possess. See right there. He's just going to slow up. See right there. Get the ball. And then a little bit of that yak ability. And he's not going to run through guys. He's going to be one of those guys that has to win with agility and that open field IQ. And that's something he definitely possesses. Another one here. This is, again, the type of routes I'm expecting him to run at the next level. Super simple hitch. But what I like about this is, it's a scoop catch, but it's a good reaction to a poorly thrown pass that was just thrown with a lot of velocity inside when it doesn't look like it was planned to be. And then here against zone, again, this is important for a Lamar Jackson type guy, just because, we see Sanders in the backfield here extending the play, and you can see Wester right here in the corner of the end zone. He's just going to get himself open. Let Sanders' mobility get him open, and then a touchdown catch there. So not a lot of zone reps there, but enough that, you can see a little bit of savviness in his routes, a little bit of yak ability when he's able to get that ball. And that's one of the key things for me is when he gets that ball in open space, he's able to, advance the ball and have a little bit of that wiggle. But, being a little undersized, I think it's going to be tough for that yak ability to translate. It's going to be really interesting to watch that. So now we're going to get some reps against man. Going to get here on a little slant, and this is where I worry a little bit. I'm going to be a little bit more critical on these routes just because like he gets open here, fair enough, but this is just a a slant route. So they're going to run a little hitch here on the inside. He's going to step up, run the slant over top, and it's not very crisp. It's kind of a rounded. He does get open, like, to be fair. There's a good full yard there. So he's technically open, but I just didn't feel for an undersized guy that's supposed to be shifty. I didn't feel a lot of crispness at the top of his the stem of his route when he starts to break off either a jab step or a cut to whatever route he's running. I just didn't feel a lot of that crispness. And you're gonna see it right here again. So he's gonna get to the top of his route, and he's just going to run an in-breaking route off of a couple steps. So it's like a 3-step, 4-step in-breaking route. And so right around here, you're going to see those kind of choppy steps right there. See, it's just didn't feel explosive to me. And, with some of these undersized guys at the NFL level, you just see that type of shiftiness. Now, he makes the catch, almost breaks the tackle. But I guess my point is a crisper route, a better timed, with better timing. And I think he breaks this, right? Because, he catches it out in front of him, but the defenders are able to break on him because of that kind of choppiness at the top. A little bit of a false step when he's going to make his break to cut in. So I was a little disappointed in some of that in terms of his route running against man. Here's a really nice play. I like the catch in traffic here. They're just gonna run. He's gonna run one of those kind of Texas routes where he just kind of goes in and out here, and then you get these other guys dragging away from him. So right there, clearing it out. And what I like here is, good play by the corner here. Keeps that hand in phase behind him to play up through the catch point. So he's going to catch this with him right on his back. And, I think he made catches in traffic and contested catches at Colorado pretty well, which I think is important. But again, just some of those crisper routes, I'm just not seeing the type of explosive separation that I'd want to see. And you can see even right here, he's going to run... I forget what, like kind of like a whip, where he's going to curl and then go outside. And, this turns into a touchdown, but, separation's limited right here. And then for some reason, corner dives to kind of swat that, and Wester picks that up. So, I mean, this is important because, it's going to show his explosive speed once he gets the ball in space right here and takes off. But this wasn't necessarily... a route where he was a true ball winner here. I know I'm sounding a little negative, but these are just some of the negatives I saw in it. But there's that explosive speed down the field, which is obviously an extreme positive, no doubt about that. Here's Wester in the slot on the left side of your screen right here. We're just going to see a nice rub route here. This is mostly the route that's going to open this, but I did find his route after I'm criticizing. Found this a lot crisper. You're going to see 1, 2, and then cut that out. And it runs right through. I don't believe the flag goes up, so that's a touchdown. So that's just a really nice pick rub route there. But I found this a lot crisper in terms of his actual route running skills. I think even if he doesn't take this guy away, have him run an in-breaking route in the bottom of the far side of the field, he's getting separation off this. And so I just wanted to see this type of explosive cut more consistently, because that is really solid work. And you can see even before he takes contact, the corner's already chasing, right? So it was just kind of seeing that more consistently throughout is where I felt like I was a little bit more disappointed. But here I like seeing. So here he's going to run, kind of that fade out from the slot. So he's going to run that right up at the top, and you see that kind of stutter step, which is going to really fake out that corner and create some of that separation. And then he's going to get up there and win that contested catch, get that foot in. So really solid catch there for Wester. I'll just play that back one more time. So you're going to see that little route run there to get open and then get up and make that catch right there. So really solid ability there for an undersized guy. Not so much height. I mean, he's 5'9", 5'10", short but not crazy, but a lighter guy, I think, is the most important thing. And then you're going to see right here another outbreak, trying to get open. And so again, just on some of these other routes where he's trying to get open, I just found he struggled to kind of get that separation as he's trying to run away from his man. I'm not seeing consistently applied explosive speed, and that kind of concerned me a little bit. Same kind of thing here. Just kind of running in circles. So he's going to start in the upper slot right here. And it kind of turns into a scramble drill where he just kind of can't get loose, right? So he's going to take the contact there and then kind of break that off. And, you know, we're just kind of into a nothing route here. It's kind of a dead route. He's going to curl it back. But he's not working back to the ball. He's trying to get open over here. I don't know. There's so many reps where I just kind of felt like I wanted more. Really solid breakaway here. Isn't able to secure that ball. But I like the way he was able to get separation off this. And one of the rare chances where we get to see his release against press. You know, everything we've looked at so far is pretty much a free release off the line, which happens in college when you're playing in the slot. But really liked right here. That quick ability, I think he got over top of the corner really well. He's just not able to secure the ball. Drops weren't a huge problem this year. They were a bit of a problem in the past for him. You'll see it from this angle. Again, I think he gets separation really well there, and you can see he gets a step and just isn't able to scoop that ball. So disappointing there. Had to throw this one in. This was the big play. And it's Wester that comes off and gets the ball. This is the broadcast, obviously. We get off right here. So they're just going to show him in terms of big plays. And then obviously in the screen game with a guy like Wester, you know, smaller slot guy, the screen game is going to be big. And this is where we don't have a ton of film of him doing the punt return game, but this is where you can see his vision and the way he reads blocks. And that gets me really excited for his ability of the punt return. So if you guys think I'm being negative through his receiving skills, don't worry, there's some positivity coming. So here you're just going to get you know, a bubble screen with two blockers out in front. This sets up really well. You got your 2-on-2 here. If your blockers take care of business, you should be getting Wester against a DB. And so this is what I mean. So he's going to get the ball here. He's got a nice outside leverage set here. You got a corner here that's trying to get that head inside, and he's going to cut it back to the outside, which is exactly where he should have. So this is what I mean by his vision. Corner here is fighting to take that outside shoulder, likely to get contained to force him back inside. And I like Wester's read right there to come back inside. So he's not kind of forcing it. I think it was supposed to go through the two blockers, but he reads that defender's taking that outside leverage point, so he cuts it back inside. So it's that type of vision thing that I want to see from him. Here, another bubble screen. And you're going to see right here, he's going to run and then kind of set that up. And this is what I mean by, you know, I think he's going to struggle to run through guys at the next level. So good gain here, you know, a modest 5-yard gain. But, you know, he doesn't necessarily have the insanely explosive speed, and he doesn't have, you know, kind of the contact power to run through tackles. So on some of those opportunities where guys are going to drag down tackle him, I think it's going to be tough to make some big things happen. So again, we're going to set this up at the top of your screen. We got our two blockers out there. So let me move it down a little bit so you can see. And so there he's going to, again, he's going to set it up. He's going to read the leverage points of the blockers. See right here, we're clearing out sideways. Going to cut that right in behind. You see him take that hard cut. Chase down tackle again. Chase down tackles have me a little worried. But I love his reading and reacting here. Here we're going to get a little trick play. Wester's going to get it right here at the bottom of your screen. And look at this ability to just read and react to the block set up in front of him. And then there he goes in the open space. That's what we need from him, is making guys miss out there in space. So he's going to catch it here, and he just ends up with a big wall, right? And so right here, he's going to bend it outside and then stay patient, not accelerate too fast. He's going to let his block set up and follow his blocks really well. And this is where I'm like, okay, this kid's got some punt return chops. Now we'll take a look at some of his actual punt returns. Obviously, all these are going to be from broadcast. I don't have all 22 on the punt return pieces. Don't tell me they're going to glitch. Okay, I thought they were about to glitch. We had that issue the other night. So here we're going to get Wester back to return. See him right there. So again, it's all about setting up your blocks. And there's just that ability right here at the end. You can see what I mean by his patience. He's staring at that punter, waiting for that to set up, and then just taking that right up the middle of his blocking scheme. I just find he's so patient when he's running with the ball. To make big plays is something that I find he does really well. 67-yard return. And you can just see right here, this is the tough type of flip the field in the punt return game. There it is, folks. So I'll be really interested to hear your thoughts. I know that's probably the most negative I've sounded through one of these prospect review videos, but I'm just going off what I'm seeing. So again, some of the pros that I'm seeing, some of the things I really like is, some of his long field stretching ability. That's something that I think he can do pretty well. I like his contested catch ability for an undersized guy. I think that can be really important as he gets matched up on, things like if he can get matched up on linebackers or safeties rather than corners. I think that can turn into an area where he'd be able to exploit. I think he runs extremely well in the screen game. I think that's going to translate really well to the punt return game. I think he's got a really high football IQ. The way he sets up his blocks is at a very high level, and I think that's going to lend itself really well to that punt return ability. Some of the things I'm a little concerned about, I just don't see enough explosiveness, and I think that really showed in his combine testing where he didn't have a high shuttle, he didn't have a high 3 cone, and I think that translates into the routes he's running where he just doesn't have that explosive step, some false steps at the top, and then he's not able to explode and create that key separation. It just doesn't look like one of those small shifty guys that's going to be someone that can run a whip route and be 3 yards wide open for an easy check down type situation. So that's just kind of what I'm seeing, but drop a comment down below. Let me know what you guys think. Hit that like button if you enjoyed this breakdown. Hit subscribe if you're new here. And as always, be good to yourselves, be good to each other. Peace out, everyone.